Hey guys, it's Olivia. Welcome back, or if you're new here, welcome. Today's video is going to be the start of a Bible study in Genesis, which is really cool because I'm also simultaneously doing a Bible study for Revelation. So it's really cool to see it from the very beginning and to the very end. So I'm gonna read Genesis, but I'm gonna give a little bit of a backstory before I read it, and then I'll go into my notes after. So Moses is the author of the first 5 books of the Bible, the Torah, Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, and Deuteronomy. And he wrote all of this before they got to the Promised Land, and it's basically geared towards the Israelites during that time. Like, he's trying to explain to them creation, the flood, how they got to where they are, and then he was taking notes from what's happening like right now in his time. So with that being said, I will just start reading Genesis 1:1, the very first book and chapter of the Bible. In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. Now the earth was formless and empty. Darkness covered the surface of the watery depths, and the Spirit of God was hovering over the surface of the waters. Then God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and God separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. There was an evening and there was a morning, one day. Then God said, "Let there be an expanse between the waters, separating water from water." So God made the expanse and separated the water under the expanse from the water above the expanse, and it was so. God called the expanse sky. Evening came, and then morning, the second day. Then God said, "Let the water under the sky be gathered in one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. God called dry land earth, and the gathering of the water he called seas. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let the earth produce vegetation, seed-bearing plants, and fruit trees on the earth, bearing fruit with seed in it, according to their kinds." And it was so. The earth produced vegetation, seed-bearing plants, according to their kinds, and trees bearing fruit with seeds in it, according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. Evening came, and then morning, the third day. Then God said, "Let there be lights in the expanse of the sky to separate the day from the night. They will serve as signs for seasons and for days and years. There will be lights in the expanse of the sky to provide light on the earth." And it was so. God made the 2 great lights, the greater light to rule over the day and the lesser light to rule over the night, as well as the stars. God placed them in the expanse of the sky to provide light on the earth, to rule the day and the night, and to separate light from darkness. And God saw that it was good. Evening came, and then morning, the 4th day. Then God said, "Let the waters swarm with living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth across the expanse of the sky." So God created the large sea creatures and every living creature that moves and swarms in the water according to their kinds. He also created every winged creature according to its kind. And God saw that it was good. God blessed them. "Be fruitful, multiply, and fill the waters of the seas, and let the birds multiply on the earth." Evening came, and then morning, the 5th day. Then God said, "Let the earth produce living creatures according to their kinds, livestock, creatures that crawl, and the wildlife of the earth according to their kinds." And it was so. So God made the wildlife of the earth according to their kinds, the livestock according to their kinds, and all the creatures that crawl on the ground according to their kinds. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, "Let us make man in our image, according to our likeness. They will rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, the livestock, the whole earth, and the creatures that crawl on the earth." So God created man in his own image. He created him in the image of God. He created them, male and female. God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth, and subdue it. Rule the fish of the sea, the birds of the sky, and every creature that crawls on the earth." God also said, "Look, I have given you every seed-bearing plant on the surface of the entire earth, and every tree whose fruit contains seed. This will be food for you, for all the wildlife of the earth, for every bird of the sky, and for every creature that crawls on the earth. Everything having the breath of life in it, I have given every green plant for food." And it was so. God saw all that he had made, and it was very good indeed. Evening came, and then morning, the 6th day. So the heavens and the earth and everything in them were completed. On the seventh day, God completed his work that he had done and rested on the seventh day from all his work that he had done. God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, for on it he rested from all of his work of creation. Whew, that was Genesis 1. Now let's go through the notes. So, I wrote down what in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. In I don't remember if it's Hebrew. I guess it's Hebrew, not Greek, not Aramaic. Hebrew. But I don't know how to say some of the words. But the ones that I focused on, so in the beginning is Barashit, and then created is the word bara, and then God here is Elohim. So, God, Elohim, is the fullness of God. So this is God the Father, Son, and Holy Spirit. So, in the beginning, God created. If we look at John 1:1, we see a parallel, like a correlation here. So John 1:1 is, in the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God. It is the last book of the Gospels, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. And it's talking about Jesus. But in the beginning, Elohim, they're all there, all together, all watching creation and aiding in creation. So, that's that. Bara is to create something new that's never been done before. We can make things, but we can't create them. Like, we can form a thought in our head and be like, oh, what if we had this thing in our hands that connected to the internet and we could talk to everyone and we can take pictures and stuff. But we did not create that. Like our phones, we didn't create them. We didn't create the materials used. God created everything, and he even created our minds. That made up the idea of it. So we have zero power to create anything. We can make things, which is really cool because God creates things and we try to mimic that, and he gave us the gift of making, but creating something that's totally new, that's never happened before, is what God does in the very beginning of our universe and of heaven, but this is talking about earth, not the creation of heaven. Before the earth was created, there was just formless, empty darkness and watery depths, which is really interesting because, like, how are there watery depths? And how is something formless and empty before it's even created? You know, that kind of just blows my mind, and I don't even have any notes to take on that. So, but then God said, let there be light, and there was light. And then he saw that it was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. So this light, the formless void, I forgot to say this, Jeremiah sees this in a vision in Jeremiah 4:23, the formless void, chaos stuff. But this light, so this is a light that God created before the sun. The sun, our source of like physical light, wasn't created yet, but there was still light in the universe. This light is like the light of Jesus. We also see this light mentioned in Revelation 22:5, where it says, once it gets to the end of time where they're creating a new heaven and a new earth, there will not be a need for a sun because there will just be this light. And this light is Jesus, the light that he brings, the light that he tells us to have, Sorry, my chair is squeaky. This light is not a physical form of light. It's more of a feeling and a presence, kind of. I know there's a few people, like a few Christians, where I just come into their presence and I can feel the light and the presence of Jesus. So that's what that light reminds me of. And then God said that the light, this perfect light, is day, and the darkness that was also there is night. So the fact that there's darkness here and that it's present and it's separated from the light just shows that this is taking place on our timeline after Lucifer's fall, Satan. So this was day 1 of creation. Light and darkness were separated. So then, day 2, I like to read Enduring Word while I'm doing like a really big deep dive into Bible studies, because Enduring Word puts in so much information. I love that website so much. So Enduring Word is talking about day 2, what we're about to go into, and it says that God basically put water in the ionosphere, which created a perfect temperature and basically a greenhouse. There was no wind and no rain cycle, which is really interesting once we get to the flood. This would also create a lush and very tropical climate with very high evaporation cycles, and would also protect from radiation. Then there was a separation between the waters from the waters, which, don't ask, I don't know. I don't know how there's water already. And that was day 2. Day 3, my big old notebook. Day 3, we have vegetation. Oh, I have a little side note. Earth was covered in water, which makes me think of babies, like hanging out in water. You know, when your water breaks, they're just hanging out in the water. And then us getting baptized in water, being born again. This is our Earth being born, and there's a lot of water that's involved, so I thought that was really cool. But then God created vegetation, and he said, and dry land first, and then vegetation. He called it the earth, and then the water gathered together to make seas. Then the vegetation, the seed-bearing plants and fruit. God did not plant seeds and then give them bone meal, and then they grew into what they are today. People want to go back and forth between if Earth was made in 6 literal days or if they were like God's days, because there's a verse that says a day to God is like 100 years to us or whatever, or 1,000 years. I mean, this says day. The word that they use is day. So I'm going to take it as literal days and not figurative days. But the earth didn't take millions and millions of years to create. Actually, our timeline from the biblical standpoint is, I think, 4,000 BC is when the earth was created. And then it's 2000 something now, 2026. So there's been roughly 6,000 years since the earth was created on the biblical timeline, if God made it in 6 literal days. We can see that through the generational genealogies. Sometime down the line in Genesis, from Adam, which is, he's created on day 6. So the first man was created on day 6. and then all the way up to Noah, and then like all the way up to David, and all the way up to Jesus. And so if you want to say it's thousands of years, I mean, the Bible is clearly saying days right here, so that's what I believe. But the thing was about the plants, so he just created trees, fully grown. And you know, trees can be hundreds of years old. The rings tell them how old they are, and there's trees that can be hundreds of years old. And he just with his voice, tree, and there was a fully mature grown tree. And it's just like him creating man. He didn't create a baby, he didn't create a zygote, he didn't create a child. He created a full grown mature man when he created Adam and Eve. So that's really interesting to me to see. And then he made each of the vegetation, the plants, and the fruit-bearing trees according to their kinds, which means they couldn't become something new. Like a tree can't become a strawberry plant. You know, like they're two different things. They're both a plant, but they're two very different according to its kind. And plants and trees and fruit and all that are very, very similar DNA can cross and create hybrids. But it doesn't mean that it's two different kinds of things. Like a nut, like a walnut and a strawberry, cannot combine to make a hybrid walnut strawberry mixture, because those are two totally different kinds of plants. So it's according to its kind. And then God saw that it was good. That is the third day. Then we have the sun, moon, and the stars are created on the fourth day. Light was created on day 1, and then the sun, the moon, and the stars were created on day 4. So let there be lights in the sky to separate the day and the night. They'll serve as signs for seasons, days, and years. But they are not to be worshipped. In biblical times, and even now, you know, people are like, what's your sign? What's your birth sign? What's your whatever? Whenever someone asks me that, I'm like, the Magi, I believe, were the ones who saw the stars, and then they were like, oh, the Messiah is here. We're studying the stars. They thought the stars held a lot of power, and they saw that however they were lining up with the North Star shining, they knew scripture and they knew that the Messiah was about to come. So they're like, hold on a second, those are the signs that they're talking about, the signs for the Messiah coming, and then for seasons, days, nights, stuff like that, and years. And then 2 great lights, the greater light to rule over the day and the lesser light to rule over the night. So that's the sun and the moon. The sun is the greater light during the day, and the sun is the lesser light at night. But this reflects and mirrors the sun, Jesus, and his followers who reflect his light. Because if you know, which you probably do, the moon doesn't have its own light source. The only way that we can see the moon is from the reflection of the sun. So if the sun is behind the moon and the moon is in between the sun and the moon, you cannot see the moon. That's the eclipse. It's just a black hole covering the sun. So without the sun, you wouldn't be able to see the moon. So that directly reflects the sun, Jesus, being the source of light, and then us, his followers, reflecting his light. Like, we don't have our own light. My joy, my happiness, my life is not my own. It's a reflection of Jesus and everything that he is. And then we have the, oh yeah, and then he said it was good, just like everything else, the fourth day. I think it was the Enduring Word that was talking about how Satan took the stars and creation, well, the stars that are the creation, and fooled people to believing that they themselves hold power. But if they do hold power, whose power is it that they hold? Because their only job and power is to light the day and night. The earth, moon, and stars got their purpose right here on day 4. Their purpose, God spoke into creation, into existence. You are to be during the day, like the sun right now. You are to be during the night, and you're supposed to tell seasons, days, and years. That is their job and their power. But where do they get the power from? You know, like, if they do hold all that power, where is it from? But at the end, in Revelation again, he will be taking that power away. So we will not have the stars, we will not have the sun, we will not have the moon. So instead of worshiping and worrying about the creation that's going to wither away with the rest of the earth, why not worship the Creator who created them? Okay, then we have the 5th day with the living creatures. The first creatures created were birds flying in the sky and the creatures in the water. So he created the large sea creatures and every living creature that moves and swims in the water according to their kinds. Again, they cannot cross and make hybrids of different kinds. A shark cannot become a shrimp. They both live in the water, but they cannot cross. Their DNAs cannot cross and make a hybrid. Now you can have hybrids of fish, like specific fish. If you're understanding why I'm saying this, I'll talk about it more in a little tiny bit. The next page, I think. Actually, it's this page. So my notes. Birds can't evolve into dogs. Fish cannot evolve into lizards. So, macroevolution does not equal microevolution. So I'm going to say a very controversial, I feel like, thing right now. Evolution is fake. It's not real. It's a theory. And Darwin himself said it's a theory. The Bible clearly says he created them in their own kind. And I feel like he was like, in their own kind, they cannot cross. Okay? He said it multiple times. If it's repeated, it's important. God blessed them and said, be fruitful, multiply, fill the water, and fill the earth. Day 5. So then day 6 was mammals. He created livestock, creatures that crawl, and the wildlife. So this is obviously all the mammals on the earth. And it was so, each to their kinds, and God saw that it was good. And then he created man, Adam, like Adam, literally means man, and this is like a mankind, human beings, not just man, singular. God said, let us make man in our image. So this is the 3-in-1, plural God, making man in our image. In every other creation up until this moment, God was just like, let's create it. Bam. But for mankind, he said, let us make them in our likeness, in our image. So we are spiritually and intellectually different from all the animals, and we are completely set apart. There is not another creature on this earth that is like a human being. There is an unbridgeable gap between animals and humans and angels. God did not create angels in his likeness or in his image. Humans are the only creation that he said in our image. This is really cool that Enduring Word said Jesus could become man not because we are the same, but because we are compatible. But not the other way around. Obviously, like, we cannot become God. But God was able to become us because he created us in his image. And then also, God created mankind to rule over animals. He put us over the animals. How would he create monkeys and then be like, ooh, I forgot to make humans. Let's make these monkeys turn into humans, and then those humans will be head over all the other animals. And I mean, we can capture animals left and right. We can train them. We can train them to kill. We can train them to obey. But an animal cannot train us. They can manipulate us, but not train us. You know, there's a difference. There's a clear difference between humans and animals. I saw this somewhere where it's like taking a glove. A glove was created for a hand, and like it kind of looks like it, but a glove and a hand are not the same thing. Like, this is not a glove. A glove has no life in it. It cannot move on its own. And a glove has zero meaning if there's not a hand. So like, as soon as you put on the glove, then it moves, but it only moves because of the hand itself. So like, God is our hand. He is our purpose. He is our reason. Without him, we have nothing. We have no life. We don't move. There's nothing. You know? It almost happened again. So I like to think of that. Male and female people. He created male and female. 2 genders, 2 sexes. That is it. Right here. If you believe anything else, I would like for you to pray on it, because 2nd page, 1st chapter, 1st book, male and female. God doesn't make mistakes. He is perfect. But he does love. That doesn't come from a place of judgment. That comes from a place of love and truth. There is love and truth, because Jesus is love and Jesus is truth. In the beginning, death was not a thing, so everything was a vegetarian. Carnivores did not exist. Omnivores did not exist. Everyone was a herbivore. This changes after the flood, which we'll read in 8 chapters from now. And then everything was good. Very, very good. So that's creation. I did include the beginning of chapter 2 because the divisions of the chapters were not added until later in the Middle Ages. So originally it was all just one thing. Moses just, kept on writing. So I'm going to include day 7 in this video, and then just pick back up with man and woman in the garden. God created his specific and special mankind and then rested from creating. So it's like a separation between his creation and like the action of creating, and then it separates from like him resting and him saying, it's done, it is finished, I'm not creating anything more, there's nothing more to create. Creation is done, but it's growing. He told everything that was able to reproduce, multiply, fill the earth. And then for the Sabbath day, that's what this is, the rest on day 7. So the creator of the universe, God, did not need to rest, but he rested to show us that we need rest. We are on 7-day cycles because God is on one. The Sabbath was a shadow of Jesus bringing his rest on us. Hebrews 4:9-11 is where I got, I think it was Enduring Word that said that. And then we find daily rest in Jesus because it is finished. So we, by law, like biblical law, we do not have to do the Sabbath anymore, practice the Sabbath anymore, because Jesus fulfilled everything in the law, and the Sabbath was a part of the law. Jesus fulfilled it all and then created a new law. And it's just to love people, love God, love people, and make heaven crowded. Like, that's the new law. It's also still very, very important that we get rest. There's 6 days of work and then 1 full day of rest. People couldn't even make food. They had to prepare food the day before. They can walk too far. Like, they literally had to rest for 24 hours. So that rest isn't what God needed, but it's what we needed. It was an example of what we should do. That was Genesis. I'm so excited for the rest of Genesis and other chapters, other Bible studies. If you watched this far, thank you so much. I hope that you are following along with this one and Revelation. Those 2 are the ones I'm making right now. And then I have so many more ideas for videos coming up. But, alright. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!